Boker Tov, gentlemen. Tizkei Mitzvah for joining us. We're learning Halachot Bishul from the book of Maaseh Shabbat. Yesterday we introduced the gezerah of cold water and boiling cold water to make it not yet cold, not freezing cold. Again, not to boil it. Again, I'm using the wrong English word. When you use the word boil, you're implying it's going to come very hot. So warming up freezing cold water, so it's no longer freezing cold. We saw there was a big Melachot Rishonim. Am I allowed to put the boiling hot water? Let's recap with the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Mevi Adam kiton shel mayim u'manicho keneged medorah." You can bring a jug of water and leave it by the fire. Leave it by the fireplace. Not to boil, but to opposite. To break its coldness, meaning warm it up slightly so it's bearable, so it's not freezing.
So it's like ice, you're saying?
It's not ice. He said the same thing. It's not ice.
Very, very cold water.
Very cold water. Imagine in the winter when you open only the cold water on Shabbat.
Really
Brick cold, yeah, freezing cold water. I want to warm it up to make it bearable. So the Gemara Masechet Shabbat says you can bring it to the fireplace or to the menorah, to the furnace, as long as your intention is not to boil but to warm it up. And now it's the big Melachot Rishonim.
What does that mean, you say?
Yeah, obviously Yatzer Lerbo is not allowed, but what about in a place where it can become Yatzer Lerbo? It's a big Melachot Rishonim, and Maran was posek like the Machmirim. Again, the Rashba, the Ra, and the Tosfot, and the Rosh were Machmir, that even if I put it in a place that can become Yatzer Lerbo, and I'm there overlooking it the entire time. Join us. And I'm there overseeing it. It's still not allowed because I'm concerned maybe I'll forget it. The Rambam, Rashi, and the Ramban are all mekel that as long as you're a guard over it, it's mutar. But Maran is like the Machmirim that it's not allowed. Perhaps you forget, you get distracted, and it boils up all the way. Good. So now we're going to get into the halacha. Asur laniach mayim bilti mevushalim. O davar ma'achal bilti mevushal besamuch la'esh. It is forbidden to put water that is not yet cooked or something that's not cooked near the fire. Im hem yecholim leitchamem sham ad sheyagiu lechom shaya tzoler bahem. Okay? It's forbidden to put a jug of water, like we said, or food that wasn't yet cooked by the fire. If it will boil if you leave it there for too long, it'll arrive at Yatzer Lerbo. V'af shekavanato litela misham kodem sheitchamemu dechayshilhan shema yishkachem sham ad sheitbashelu. Even if you intend to remove it before it boils, Maran is posek like the Machmirim that we're concerned you might forget it and you'll be over the Isur Bishul. Good? Very good. What do you mean?
I'm saying Maran's posek is Gzer Derabanan that if you do this.
No, it's Isur Deraita. It's not like it's according to these Rishonim, it's Isur Deraita. You haven't cooked it yet. No. Oh, you're saying if you do it and it doesn't get boiled? Yeah. So Derabanan. You didn't do anything wrong. It's Asur Derabanan. It's a Gezerah. According to the Rishonim or Machmir. But if it boils, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, very, very good. So we will continue. Ulam mutar להפשיר מים או דבר מאכל בסמוך לאש אם מניחם במקום שאינם יכולים להגיע שם לחום שהיה צולל בהם. However, even Maran would permit that it is mutar to put water or food that it wasn't yet cooked in a place near the urn or on top of the plata. So you have a shelved plata that is not directly on the heat source, so it won't boil. Meaning, if I put water on top of my pots on the plata, it'll never boil. It won't get hot enough most of the time. That is mutar according to everyone, even according to the Machmirim. That's mutar because it's impossible to boil. It'll be mutar to do that on Shabbat. Okay. Next halacha. Avar v'hiniach mayim bilti mevushalim or davar ma'achal bilti mevushal b'simuch la'esh. What happens if you did it? I put it. I was over the isur and I did it. What happens? במקום שיכולים להתחמם שם עד לחום שהיה צולל בהם וקדם ונטלם משם קודם שהגיעו לחום שהיה צולל בו. So again, you ignored the halacha from Shulchan Aruch. You relied on the Rambam, Rashi, and the Ramban, and you did it. You put it on the plata with in mind. I'm going to remove it before it boils. Okay, what happens? Mutar b'diavad l'shtotam o leochlam gam shem poshrim. In this scenario, you would still be permitted to benefit from it, to drink it or use it or wash your hands with it, whatever it is, on Shabbat. Why? Because this is a Maaseh Shabbat question. Remember, we introduced that if someone does a Melacha on Shabbat, you can't benefit from the Melacha on Shabbat. Okay? So this over here is a famous klal of the Pri Megadim. Pri Megadim explains that if there's a Machloket Rishonim, Maaseh Shabbat you can be lenient with. So I think he's basing this halacha on that. Mishum sh'yesh lismoch ala poskim shesovrim demutar litenam af bekom sheyatzod ha'ebo. You can rely on the Rishonim that say it's mutar lachatchila. You can put it by the fire, even if you leave it there, it'll come boiling water, as long as you're careful to remove it before it gets boiled. כל שבכוונתם ליטלה משם קודם שיגיעו לחום שיצא דרבו ועוד מכיוון שאין האיסור מצד עצם ההפשר לכן אין לצור בזה בדיעבד. He permits בדיעבד. If someone does it, it's mutar. Good?
Let it go above?
No, before it gets above. If it gets to above, you're in trouble.
Was over the words
Of the Maran, of Shulchan Aruch. Yeah.
Although the Chatchila Asur b'diavad, it's fine.
Correct, exactly. Because of Machloket Rishonim. L'chatchila, we don't cool off water. We don't warm cold water if it can become yad solerebo if you forget it there.
Is that for every Mechlok Rishonim though? Like if there's a Mechlok Rishonim, you could always be diavad.
So it depends. Not generally, but it needs to be with logic also. So he brings reasons here why. Yeah.
What's poshrim?
Poshrim, where are you reading? Warm, when they're warm.
Meaning not boiled.
Correct. If it gets boiling, you're in trouble. You over sur bishul. So we're talking about the realm that's not yet cooked, not yet boiled, but warm. What happens in that scenario? We saw the Machloket Rishonim and the halacha. Very good. Okay, now we're getting into the exciting halachot that you learned. You guys have a chavruta, right?
Yeah.
Is there ein Bishul Achar Bishul or yesh Bishul Achar Bishul? We'll learn about that right now. Bishul Achar Bishul, cooking after something was already cooked. Okay? Ma'achal shenitbashal kol tzorka v'nitztanen, a food that was fully cooked and became cold. Im hu yavesh, if it's dry, en bo yoter mishum bishul. There's no longer an issue of bishul. Dry, fully cooked food, I can reheat it with no concern of bishul. Good? Umutar lanicho al gabe kaderet chamin kedei sheitchanem. And I'm allowed to put it on a hot pot so that it boils.
Even when it gets better when you cook it more.
We'll see that right now. Yeah, we'll see all that right now. Okay? So this is based on the Mishnah, Masechet Shabbat, the end of the Mishnah. All the way at the end of the Gemara. Shabbat Daf Kuf Mem Hey Amud Bet. The Gemara tells us, Kol Sheba Bechamin Me'erev Shabbat, Shorin Oto Bechamin Be'Shabbat. This is Mishnah. So Mishnah at the end of Masechet Shabbat. That should be your next project, to learn Mishnah Shabbat well, because it's the blueprints, yeah. So the Mishnah says, anything that comes on Erev Shabbat, literally comes, meaning it was cooked or if it was boiled before Shabbat, mutar shoinu oto bechamin Shabbat. I can leave it in boiling water on Shabbat as well.
You're saying it went into Shabbat while it was being boiled?
What? Yeah. Not even while it was being boiled. It was boiled once prior. It was cooked once prior. We'll talk about that. No, it's talking about stuff. Anything, any dish that this is the Gemara. The Mishnah is talking about something that was cooked before Shabbat. You can reheat it again on Shabbat. Okay. I'm translating, but I'm loosely translating. And this is like the chicken of Rabbi Abba. Okay? V'tama davar de'en bishul achar bishul devar yavesh. The Gemara says, why am I allowed to do it? Because once something was cooked, there's no longer an issue of cooking again on Shabbat. Very simple. Din Gemara. Hu mishum shabishul hasheni eno mechadesh shinui beguf hadavar. Sharik kvar nitbashel. Because the second time you cook it or you reheat it, you're not changing anything in the food. When I take chicken that's raw and I cook it, I made it raw into edible. When I reheat already cooked chicken, it's edible as is. I'm just reheating it. That's the logic behind why en bishul achar bishul devar yavesh. Okay? Very good. וכן פסח בשולחן ערוך סימן ר' ג' סעיף ה' ושין י"ח סעיף ח' דמותר להניח תבשיל יבש על גבי מחם שעל האש. The halacha is very simple in Shulchan Aruch that a fully cooked dish, I'm allowed to put it back on the fire or on a urn on the fire on Shabbat. Putting it directly on the fire is a problem. What?
Is there no concern that it's going to be better for you?
So when it's fully cooked, even if you have fellow, it doesn't. We're okay with. We're skipping a few steps, but that's the answer to the
Put
question.
it on the fire.
Not the fire, because that looks like mixlik and vashel. But on the heat source, on a covered fire, or on a
Where is that nowadays?
a plata.
Is putting it on the fire serve bishul?
No.
It's considered
But now you still can't put
when
it.
something's medium rare and then you're making it.
Good question. So it's when it comes to meat, it's if it's edible, meaning macha ben dorsai is the bare minimum. But if you eat your meat, or people eat their meat normally, no one eats it raw, but medium or medium rare, that's edible. That's fully cooked.
Not your preference, like anybody's preference.
It's like a big machloket. Big machloket. It depends. We'll get upset. Big machloket. It's a good question. Okay. Aval imu tavshil shesh bo marak v'nitztanen. Now the $1 billion machloket. If it's a dish that has a soup, a liquid dish that got cold, nechleku harishonim im yesh bo od mishum bishul. Big machloket rishonim. If there is still bishul, if I reheat a liquid dish. Ulinyan halacha pasak hashulchan aruch kedat hamachmirim yesh bo mishum bishul. Maran is pasak like the machmirim that liquids that cool down, if you reheat them, it's considered bishul. Lefichach im mitbashel atavshil kol tzorko. If it was fully cooked, kevan shenitztanen. Because it cooled off and it's no longer yatzor lerepo, asur lechamemo shenit bechamat isur bishul. I cannot reheat my soup on Shabbat because of bishul. We will momentarily explain all of these halachot. So again, this is the famous seif in Shulchan Aruch is Siman Shin Yuchet Seif Daled. That's the seif about Bishul Achar Bishul with Yavesh, with Lach. Very good. Who is with Lach? Who is Maran Posek like? When it comes to Lach, means liquid. Okay? With liquid foods, we just saw that Maran is Machmir. Who is the Machmir Rishonim? So if you look at the Mishnah Berurah and the Biur Halacha, they bring it, but it's a massive. We'll explain. Maran is Posek like Rashi, Rabbeinu Yonah, the Samak, the Rosh, Rabbeinu Yerucham. That why the Ta'amam the B'Devar Lach, and their group Lach Ikar Bishul Chumo. Why? What's the reason? What's the logic behind these poskim? Why they machmir? Because with liquid dishes, the Ikar Bishul is warming it, is boiling it. Okay? Lefichach im nitzanen vechozer mechamemo harehu mevashelo mechadash. With soup, I don't care for cold soup. The primary point of soup is to be hot. So Rashi, Rabbeinu Yonah, the Rosh, the Samak, Rabbeinu Yerucham, they explain that okay, it was cooked once, but the fundamental principle of cooking is with liquids, with soups, is reheating, is boiling. So when you boil it again, you're doing the whole process again from the beginning.
Cold soup is like raw chicken.
Exactly. Like according to these Rishonim, cold soup is like raw chicken. Very nice way to quantify it.
Rambam is making it, right?
V'zeh shelo kedat, like I was about to get there, the Maran is not posek. On the opposite extreme, the Rambam, the Rashba, the Ran, all hold the af b'devar lach shenitztanen and bishul achar bishul. These are big heavyweights. The Rambam, the Rashba, and the Ran are all posek. That is something that was cooked, a liquid that was cooked. Even if it cools off, I don't care. It's considered cooked and it's checked. It's good to go. So the same way cold chicken was cooked, cold soup was cooked. The point of machloket for the first Rishonim is cold soup is like raw chicken. Rambam says cold cooked soup is like cold chicken. That's the machloket.
Is there a difference in the consistency of the soup? Like
Yes, very big difference. Ravaya talks about it at length. We'll get there. What?
You have like raw soup.
Yeah, when the soup started, the spices weren't cooked, the vegetables weren't cooked, the chicken wasn't cooked. It will get there, but let's assume the majority is liquid. That we'll get there. We'll get there. It's a good question. Okay, let's continue. Very good. Bishul Achar Bishul Ma'achal Yavesh. We'll start. Okay, we'll start with this, and we'll get into the details of lach tomorrow. Good. Bishul Achar Bishul Ma'achal Yavesh. So that was the introduction. It's the Mishnah Masechet Shabbat with liquid, with food, with solids. Machloket Rishonim with liquids. Very good. Ma'achal Yavesh. A dry food that was fully cooked and became cold, and bo'od mishum bishul. There is no longer an issue of bishul with it. Ulefichach mutar lechamemo al gabe hakedera kederat chamin shomet al esh. You're allowed to warm it up on top of a hot pot that's on a fire. Again, he's not saying on the fire itself, because there are separate issues with putting stuff directly in the fire, called michzek and vashel. We'll get there. Yeah. So we're talking about putting it on top of something that's on the fire that'll boil it. Okay. V'yesh shekatvu de'al plata chashmalit v'chen al gabe pach shala kirayim mutar lanicho. Af below hefsek kedera. Now we're getting into halacha l'maaseh. The author brings that there are many achronim that write on a plata, on an electric plata, and a pach shalakaraim. What does that mean? Yeah, anyone heard of the Yiddish word called the blech?
Yeah.
So a blech is a piece of metal, a flat piece of metal that we put on top of the fire, on top of the kirayim, on top of the gas stovetop that covers the fire. Okay? Once you cover the fire, there's no longer an issue of michzek and vashel. We're going to see this halachot later. He says in Perek Bet, Seifim Mem Aleph, De'oil ve'ein derech levashel al gei plata chashmalit chen apach shal be'kirayim en netina al gaban yi'it k'maaseh bishul lo gazur habanan v'chagav v'mishum netinat betchila. Again, the Chachamim made a gezerah. If it looks like you're cooking, you can't put it on. When you on a plata is a big machloket rishonim, achronim, in Rav Ovadia and Rav Beitona Bashaul. But l'halacha we hold like Rav Ovadia that on a plata, on an electric plot, there's no problem. It doesn't look like cooking. No one cooks on a Tuesday on the plata. Therefore, I can put it on the plata without a problem. Yes, to avoid the normal way that it's cooked. So they're not cooking. That's to warm it up. That's hatmana. We'll get into that in the next parak. A separate issue on Shabbat.
And it will, even though it's still going to be cooking.
Listen, I don't need the towel to cook the food. Meaning, if the food is raw, I can cook it without the towel. If the food is fully cooked, the towel will just make it hotter. So the towel has nothing to do with cooking. It has to do with hatmana, with a separate issue of insulating.
Can you do insulating?
It depends.
Insulating cold cooked chicken.
Insulating with what? With no heat? No, insulation requires heat.
I'm saying you already have your blend, just putting more insulation.
We'll get there.
Oh, that's the machloket?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, insulating is a big machloket. The halachot by that are very complicated, but we'll get there.
The only issue is speeding up the cooking.
No. There's a separate issue of hatmana.
Bishul?
It depends if you cooked it or not. It might be a derabanan. It's a subcategory of bishul. If it's raw, it's isur deraita. If it's not, it's probably derabanan. But we'll get there.
When Sion says it looks like you're cooking,
Rav Achar Bishul writes that a plata needs to have a aluminum foil on top of it to make it.
like directly.
Yeah, to make it that, because it might be derech bishulo. The logic was dehoil ve'ein derech levashel al gabe plata. No one cooks on a plata, therefore I can reheat the fully cooked dish on the plata. Good. That's that. Ulam, the next halacha will wrap up with this for today. Yesh leizaher shelo levashel ma'achal yavesh betavlin shelo nitpashlu l'chamemo. You have to be mindful that make sure that there was nothing that hasn't yet been cooked in the pot. For example, kigon liten pilpen shachor, put black pepper, pilpil shachor, al gabe gargire hummus, on hummus seeds, on chickpeas, good, ulchamemam, and to heat them up. Shara yesh bazeh bishul mishum atavlit shadayin lo nipashel. So again, he's just giving a disclaimer. Just because the pot, the gondi, for example, was fully cooked, don't come now and add more pepper or spices or turmeric that's raw while it's on the plata, because it might get cooked on the plata, which is Isur Deoraita Bishul. So that's like a parenthetical disclaimer. We'll get into this halachot later on, but the summary for today is and Bishul Achar Bishul. Once something is cooked, there's no issue of cooking it again, warming it up again. That applies according to everyone with solid food. With liquids, it's a Melachot Rishonim. How to understand the Gemara and the end of Masechet Shabbat? Good? According to some Rishonim, liquids, once they cool off, they're like raw, and when you re-boil it, it's re-cooking, Isur Deoraita. According to other Rishonim, it's the same way chicken that was cooked, that's cold, is cold cooked chicken. Soup that was cooked, that cooled off, is cool cooked chicken. That's the Melachot for today. We spoke about Bishul Achar Bishul. We speak about liquids tomorrow. B'ezras Hashem. Chazak u'baruch.